Hello, welcome back to HLS Crypto. My name is Dan. Let me get myself out the way. So, crypto is dead. It's never coming back. Everyone is going to zero. There is no hope left in the crypto space. A lot of people are probably going to be thinking like that right now. And the thing is this is like what we've spoken about before in the past, is that these things happen and they're kind of necessary. So a lot of people are moving to the panic side and they're fearful and things like that. And I kind of get it. I kind of understand it because when you're watching your portfolio drop 30, 40, 50% in some cases more, if you're massively into memes and things like that, there is an issue with that. And it's an inherent like, oh, you're going to feel sick. You're going to feel like, oh, this is all terrible news. But actually, is it? Now, let's look at where these kind of things have come from initially anyway. Also, we're going to be back to daily uploads as of today. So we are back. We're going to build the channel back and do things right. The latest from Wall Street is that the markets tumbled over fears of a US recession. So those fears are very, they're not necessarily without it's a basis in foundation. Like there is a very real chance of that. There's also this situation here over in Bangladesh. They've had their prime minister resign due to a large number of protests over the past few days, things like that. You've also got things like Taiwan. So Taiwan is one of several markets that tumbled on Monday amid fears the United States could be heading for a recession, and as investors sought refuge from risk assets in a bid to calm investors. The stock exchange chief said the burst would work with regulators to maintain stability, which is obviously a lot of countries around the world right now are starting to panic about this. But the thing is that it was always inevitable. We can't pinpoint exactly when. It's heavily manipulated. It's controlled, by the elite upper echelons of society. It's something that we don't get kind of a heads up about beforehand. The odd trader might have guessed it beforehand, but very few, because it's so heavily manipulated. And obviously, crypto being one of the highest risk assets you can get. Obviously, over in the UK here, there is riots all over the place, particularly in like places like Sunderland, Newcastle, unfortunately Liverpool, and various other places across England. I think Leicester, Nottingham, Sheffield, a lot of places. And there was a Cobra meeting today. So again, it's fear, but this isn't FUD. This is actually happening. These are things that are actually happening. You can obviously, if you want to see any videos of these kind of things and what's happening in these different regions and different areas, then obviously look at Twitter or whatever your go-to source of on the ground reporting, which I fully prefer to use than mainstream media. Mainstream media, I think, is obviously always going to give you a narrative. Whichever way they want to spin that narrative is down to them, and then whatever you consume from that narrative, which is I prefer to look at things differently. We'll get into how this will affect crypto shortly, but over 400 were arrested in a week of riots in England and Northern Ireland, I believe. Japan has suffered its worst stock market has suffered its worst since the COVID crash, since the crash of 1987, which is crazy. So in one day, the biggest one-day drop since 1987, global markets really are panicking here. But this does feel to me like an opportunity, and again, I'll show you why shortly. Now, Lockheed Martin, obviously, massively when it's basically a defense contract and things like that. When war looks likely, these kind of stocks go up. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be an all-out war. There is obviously loads of pockets of conflict across the world right now that we know of. Behind the scenes, you've got like Iran, Israel, the USA, Russia, Ukraine. There's Palestine as well. There's a lot of tension across many regions, and that's led to the Lockheed Martin stock price going up, which sometimes you're thinking, well, this could be a bit iffy. But obviously, if you've got loads of, if you're a big investor and you've got, funds spread across, your precious metals, your stocks, your cryptocurrencies, and all things like that, then this will probably be your saving net for this particular, few weeks or potentially months. We don't know how it's going to go on for. If you do have cash still ready to go into the market, which I am definitely in the market, I don't have additional funds to put in right now because these prices do look like Christmas time, as in like such an opportunity. MEXC, if you fancy buying anything off MEXC, you can use the link in the description. I've got a Mexi affiliate link, and basically whenever you trade, sell, buy crypto or whatever, it does give the channel a little kickback. So if you can do that, that'll be absolutely fantastic. Some of you have already done that, so thank you very much. So let's look at what it means on the crypto. Before we do that, we'll look at Warren Buffett. So Warren Buffett, he sold half his Apple stocks. Now, he's obviously a massive proponent of when people are greedy, then you be fearful. When people are fearful, you be greedy. I think it's a very, very simple but effective kind of mantra to go by. He's sold that much money and has now got 277 billion to just go and lash around on whatever he wants. Now, for me, he is going to put that money straight into various different assets, not necessarily crypto. I believe in the past he said he wouldn't get involved with crypto, but even so, when someone like that has got that amount of money on hand, you know that he's waiting then for the potential recovery, and when that comes, potentially we could be looking into the end of this calendar year, so maybe Q4 of this calendar year before we really start seeing big surges again in the crypto space. But this is from Crypto Rover, so at Rover CRC. Before a big bull market, we always see a big crash. Will history repeat itself for Bitcoin? So as you can see, the COVID crash was there, and then we rallied right up to there. It's very much a very similar situation here. As you can see, we're coming down. It's going to take probably a little bit of time to bounce between these areas, but then when it goes, it's going to go. Like, where do you think it'll go? 100, 120, 150, potentially. So I'm still really bullish. I'm still really bullish, and I still see really exciting times, and I still believe that there is massive opportunity, particularly now. If you've got that money on the sidelines, obviously nothing's financial advice on this channel. It can't be taken as so, but if you have that ability now to put in when the prices are this low, that's where your generational wealth is made, or at least significantly life-changing money. Now, my plan and my goal is just to get like maybe a small hold in an off-grid homestead and kind of build that and live, self-sustainably, while still having this channel and still maybe having a secondary channel showing, how you work the land and different things like that. But it'd be very, very interesting for me to document that side of it as well. But obviously, I know this is a crypto channel, so I wouldn't document the two on the same channel. But that's kind of the goal I've got. And I said before about goal setting and planning and working out what you actually want, what your financial need is, and what your targets are for the bull run. If you can get that down to a monetary value, it's much easier when you look at price predictions to see where you think you can get that from when you're investing in your crypto coins. Here looks like an absolute bloodbath, doesn't it? So 3.8 trillion has now been wiped from the stock market and crypto market within the last week. The crash is now ranked as the largest destruction of wealth in history. That's from at Jacob King E. Whilst this is obviously looks horrific on paper, I still believe that we saw very similar problems during COVID. Now, if America decide to turn on their money printer, and cut these rates, you're going to see a vast amount of money flow into the crypto space. As things are starting to pile up, as FOMO starts to kick in, you then get a big chunk of retail cash come in as well. And that's obviously where we need to be thinking about selling our bags, at least on the way up, and certainly before we get to complete peak, because I don't think you'll time it. I won't time it. I'll try, but even then, I'm not going to risk it going all the way back down again and have to wait another 4 years. It's not what I want to do. And I also believe that this particular bull run is going to be probably the biggest, and will go down as the biggest in crypto history. I think in the future, the bigger these cryptocurrencies get, the more company-like they get, the more stock market-like it'll be run. That's just, my opinion. Periods when to make money. Now, I've shown you this before on the channel, and it is very interesting. And Crypto Pulse has said they nailed it with these predictions. From the 2000 dot-com crash to the 2020 COVID crash, the chart is spot on what's next for 2026. So as we know, COVID crash, and then we've gone into a place where we're now at 2020. Well, we're at 2024 now, but 2023 was there, 2024 was there, 2025 is kind of there, and years of good times, which is along this line, is high prices and time to sell stock and value of all kinds. So we're going to want to be obviously selling it potentially end of 2024, but I still believe the bull is going to kick in 2025. We're probably going to see a few different altcoins surge before that, and then obviously 2026. So from 2026, what will happen? We don't know, and it's a bit too far to really have to worry too much about. But it's looking like that would then elicit some kind of crash. What kind of crash that is, people are talking about complete global collapse, potentially. But that's why it's important to get yourself where you need to be prior to that happening, in my opinion. If we look at Bitcoin, we can see if we go on, obviously this has been a big crash, but if we look here, we've been here before. We've been here before multiple times, and it just keeps going up. And eventually, this will look very similar to something down there over the time, over the years, because it will kick into a bull run, in my opinion, and we are not there yet, and we're certainly not going back into a bear market like I've heard a lot of people say. I don't believe that's the case. Things like Casper held up reasonably well. I mean, it did drop quite a lot, but it held up pretty well. And again, zooming out is your best friend on these kind of things, because as you can see, it's crashed before, not to maybe that extent in that way, but it has happened before and it will go again. The most important thing now is to just keep trying to, obviously DCAing in is one thing, but one thing I've learned from this particular bull run that I didn't learn in the last bull run, which I kind of probably should have done, is it's important to have just a little chunk of cash on the side in stables, just waiting to go. So for instance, I think next strategy I'm going to use in the next bull run is maybe have my DCA pot split into 3 parts. 2/3 will go in at every price, over the course of a monthly or weekly DCA, and I'll keep that 1/3 back each month. So when the big crashes come and the big dips come, it's an opportunity to really get some really low price crypto and give you better X's in the long run. I think that's something that I'm definitely going to implement in the next bull run. I'm not sure how many crashes there are before the end of this one. One like this, I'm not sure there's going to be another one of this size, but you never know. So it is always important to kind of use that risk management strategy that you want to use. Channel wise, by the way, massive thank you to everyone who has subscribed, who's liked the video, all that kind of good stuff. We are currently at 4,322 subscribers, which is unbelievable. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart for doing that. The channel is just over a year old now. We haven't uploaded as much as we wanted to in the past few months, and we need to really nail down now daily uploads, and we're going to be doing that again as of today. So check out the links in the description for MEXC, things like that. Wherever you are in the world, whatever you're doing, have a wonderful day, have an amazing evening, and thank you very much for still being with me. I really do appreciate it. Forgotten what I was going to say, actually. I was going to say something else, but I've forgotten. So take it easy. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.